911 dispatchers. What's the most ridiculous call that turned out to be real? I've been a dispatcher for 12 years in rural Montana. Thought I'd heard everything until that call came in on a Tuesday morning in March 2019. 911, what's your emergency? Hi, this is going to sound crazy, but there's a man in my backyard dressed like a Viking, and he's building what looks like a boat. I paused. Ma'am, can you repeat that? A Viking. Full costume. Horned helmet, fur cloak, the works. He's been out there since sunrise, hammering away. I think he's using my fence posts for wood. Standard protocol for weird calls is to send someone out. Could be a mental health crisis, trespassing, property damage. I dispatched Officer Blake, our most patient cop. 20 minutes later, Blake radios in. Dispatch, I need backup, and maybe animal control, and do we have anyone who speaks Norwegian? Turns out the caller wasn't exaggerating. There really was a man in full Viking regalia constructing a longboat in her backyard. But it gets weirder. When Blake approached, the man started shouting in what sounded like Old Norse. Wouldn't respond to English. Just kept pointing at the sky and hammering. That's when the neighbors started calling. Same guy had been hitting other yards all morning, taking fence posts, garden stakes, anything wooden. Building materials scattered across 4 properties. By noon, we had a crowd. The man had constructed an impressive 20-foot vessel using stolen lumber. Still wouldn't talk to anyone. Just kept looking up and muttering. Then Pastor Williams from the Lutheran Church arrived. Recognized the guy immediately. That's Eric Anderson. He's been coming to our services for months. Recent immigrant from Norway. Has some kind of developmental disability. Lives with his sister downtown. Turns out Eric's sister had been at work since 5 a.m. Didn't know he'd wandered off. He'd been watching History Channel documentaries about Vikings and became obsessed with building a proper longboat. But here's the kicker. Eric wasn't just randomly building. He'd been tracking weather reports on his phone. A massive storm system was heading toward their area. In his mind, he needed to build an ark before the floods came. The sister explained that Eric had survived the 2011 flooding in his hometown in Norway. Watched his neighbor's house get swept away. Ever since, he'd been terrified of floods and obsessed with boat building as preparation. Weather Service confirmed a major storm front approaching. Potential for flash flooding in low-lying areas. Eric's house was in a flood zone. His survival instincts were actually spot on. The homeowners decided not to press charges. Instead, they helped Eric finish his boat. Community came together, brought proper tools and materials. Local news picked up the story. When the storm hit 2 days later, Eric's neighborhood did flood. His house got 3 feet of water, but Eric was ready. He and his sister rode out the worst of it in that handmade longboat, floating safely in their living room. The boat became a local landmark. Eric started a small business building custom boats for flood preparation. City Council hired him as a consultant for emergency planning. Sometimes the most ridiculous calls come from people who see dangers the rest of us miss, and sometimes crazy is just preparation in disguise.